Emergency in Japan has other countries reviewing their nuclear power plans, particularly the United States. It has many reactors similar to Japan and an unstable Pacific fault line. Some are now calling for at least a pause in all new nuclear development. North America correspondent Michael Brissenden reports.
It was the partial meltdown of the core of the 3 Mile Island nuclear reactor in 1979 that's seen by many as the turning point in the nuclear debate in the United States.
What 3 Mile Island did was it added to the expense and delays and soured Wall Street even more. Somebody said it converted a $1 billion asset into a $2 billion liability, or vice versa, in 90 minutes. No new reactor ordered after October 1973 has been completed in this country. And there's been no reactor ordered since 1978, I believe.
But as the quest for more carbon-friendly energy sources gained momentum over the past few years, talk in Washington was all about a nuclear renaissance. And in the overheated political debate over climate change and energy policy, a renewed commitment to nuclear energy has been one of the few areas of broad bipartisan agreement.
But the fact is, even though we've not broken ground on a new nuclear power plant in 30 years, nuclear energy remains our largest source of fuel that produces no carbon emissions. To meet our growing energy needs and prevent the worst consequences of climate change, we'll need to increase our supply of nuclear power.
But not surprisingly, the nuclear nightmare in Japan is giving pause for thought about an industry that already provides 20% of American power requirements and 70% of all emissions-free power.
And I think it calls on us here in the U.S. naturally not to stop building nuclear power plants, but to put the brakes on right now until we understand the ramifications of what's happened in Japan.
Still, the official line from the White House is resolute, and the administration brought out its own experts to underline the fact at the regular daily briefing for the White House press corps.
We view nuclear energy as a very important component to the overall portfolio we're trying to build for a clean energy future.
But with Japan still grappling to control the damaged reactors, there's no end of experts ready to give the politicians, the public and the media the benefit of their research. There are similar reactors operating in the US today, and the US is far from immune to nature's power.
You particularly want to look at ones that are on earthquake faults or earthquake zones, which is more than just California. South Carolina, it's the center part of the country, or parts of it. And then you have to consider the weather. How close are they to places that can have, say, for example, a combination of a hurricane and a tornado?
David Albright is a nuclear security analyst who's testified many times on Capitol Hill.
I think here it's probably the expansion is in trouble, and I would predict there isn't going to be a nuclear renaissance over the next 10 years.
I don't like to be wrong. And so I actually was very reluctant to stick my neck out and conclude that we could do this with renewable energy economically. But, you know, it's there. The thing that is missing is the political guts.
Right. So the nuclear industry...
Arjun Makhijani has been writing about the US energy sector for 40 years. But you get the impression the past 40-odd hours have been some of the busiest he's seen. He, for one, thinks America should and could be looking at alternatives to keeping nuclear power in the US energy mix.
We have more wind energy in this country than all the oil production of all the OPEC countries put together. What are we waiting for? So we can't build an offshore off of Cape Cod. People say we're going to ruin the view. Well, is it preferable to kick plutonium down the road to our kids or look at the view and see where our electricity is coming from? I don't think it should even be a question.
But whether there are alternatives to nuclear power or not, like everything else, the answer lies in the politics. The fact is, the nuclear industry is a powerful political force here in Washington. They lobby hard and they have considerable Republican support. Until now, for President Obama to have any hope of getting bipartisan congressional support for an energy bill, nuclear had to be part of the mix. Now, some think even that could change.
I would imagine what will happen is that there'll be political support from the Republicans to push through this, and there'll be pushback from the Democrats to go slow. But under that, they're going to have to convince the utilities and the financial industry that this is a good investment. And I think that's going to be tougher now, and particularly if the safety requirements go up, which inevitably translate into more costs.
Michael Brissenden reporting from Washington.